The resilient Jenkins drama has taken an unsettling and deeply troubling turn. What once began as a community-driven push to get Stephanie and Drew Jenkins to improve their parenting for the sake of their children has evolved into a toxic cycle of drama production. Instead of constructive advocacy, some creators have realized that manufacturing conflict brings them more engagement, more content, and more attention. The more drama, the more they have what to talk about, not knowing people are being affected in real life. This shows how terribly some people are losing the plot. If the public is smearing rumors and talking about the Jenkins just to tear them down instead of advocating for their children, then it questions a lot of things. Are people still trying to advocate for the Jenkins kids? Do they really want these kids to get better? Or is this all a fantasy opera they enjoy watching and adding drama into to make money and content? It goes way out of hand. Let's get into it. Some messages were leaked between content creator Mama D and another creator, both of whom have publicly called out the resilient Jenkins and claiming they were advocating for the children's well-being. However, the chats that were exposed paint a very different picture, one that shows not advocacy, but calculated planning to inject more drama into an already volatile situation. Instead of discussing constructive ways to address the Jenkins behavior, they were trading ideas on how to stir up more twists, tension, and personal conflict by targeting people who regularly speak about the Jenkins. The leaked conversation revealed detailed plans for targeted harassment campaigns. These weren't just petty online jabs, they were orchestrated steps designed to harm reputations and pit people against each other. Mama D and her associate talked about making rage-bait videos aimed at Morgan, a creator known for consistently speaking out about the gender. They discussed creating a fake account for Monty's mama, shockingly using the name for her deceased son as part of her ruse, and devising ways to troll Jenna, a long-time supporter of the Jenkins. Their goal was simple but insidious: set these creators against one another, plant rumors on both sides, and ensure that everyone would be so busy biting at each other that they would lose sight of the original purpose entirely. What's even more disturbing is that their scheming went well beyond the confines of social media. They dug into real, offline lives of people who never signed up for the public eye, pulling personal information into their drama machine without any care of how it might harm those individuals or their families. They plotted to keep the Jew side piece narrative alive by inventing new storylines, such as claiming the side piece wanted to be with Jew, to keep Stephanie under constant public attack. They fueled the perception that Stephanie was blind or delusional for staying with Drew, when behind the scenes it was just two people in a private inbox deciding who to target next and what storyline to spin to keep the outrage fresh. One detail from the chats made people's ears perk up. The alleged side piece had claimed she worked at Amazon, something she repeated more than once during her livestream accusations about Drew, as if to lend credibility or relatability to her story. Coincidentally, or perhaps tellingly, Mama D herself had also publicly mentioned working at Amazon. This overlap immediately raised eyebrows in the community and sparked pointed questions. Could this be more than coincidence? Did Mama D recruit a colleague, someone she already had personal connection to play the role of Drew's side piece? Could this supposed scandal have been a carefully constructed performance, staged from the very beginning to look authentic and pull viewers into believing it? If so, the implications would be staggering. Not just for the Jenkins, but for the entire audience who was manipulated, possibly for months, into thinking they were witnessing genuine drama when it was in fact manufactured. If Mama D and the sidepiece shared a workplace, they would have countless opportunities to coordinate stories, rehearse details, and keep the narrative consistent in public. That would mean the online explosions, the back and forth comments, the exclusive revelations were all choreographed with the same perception as a scripted TV drama, except the fallout was spilling into real people's lives. It would mean the fights between Stephanie and Drew, any distrust or suspicion stirred up in front of their children, could have been based entirely on a fabricated affair. And even that wasn't the end of the plotting. The messages revealed they were not content to let the scandal run its course. They wanted to escalate it. They discussed plans to infiltrate Desireen's lives, using stock puppet accounts to flatter comments with carefully chosen lines designed to provoke anger, confusion, and defensive outbursts. Every reaction could then be clipped, edited, and spun into fresh content for their own pages. These weren't passing thoughts or impulsive outbursts. They were deliberate, repeatable steps in an ongoing cycle of provocation, misinformation, and monetized outrage. Once these lies were seeded into the community, they spread like wildfire, repeated and believed by people who had no idea the original source was a coordinated, deceptive plot. Meanwhile, that wasn't even the worst part of what was undercovered. The lengths to which they went included an attack on a grieving mother who had consistently shown up in support of Desiree, attending and participating in many of her live streams, Monty's mama. In their private plotting, they devised a particularly heartless and calculated move to create fake social media accounts, one of them in the name of her deceased son, and use it to spread the heinous lie that she had unalived her own child by running him over with a car while she was drunk, followed by posts asking for forgiveness. This wasn't some careless rumor. It was unintentional fabrication meant to destroy her reputation and twist public perception, making her appear as if she was consumed by guilt over a tragedy she supposedly caused. In reality, the truth was heartbreakingly different. Monty had died in a typical motor accident, nothing of the malicious narrative they were pushing, and this loss had already left his mother with deep, unhealed wounds since 2021. For these women to sit together, brainstorm, and then execute a plan to use that tragedy against her was sick, depraved, and inhumane. Imagine this mother waking up one morning to discover a social media profile using her son's name and photos, paired with captions that not only brought back the trauma of his death, but falsely accused her of being the cause of it. It's hard to overstate how vicious that is. This wasn't simply an insult. It was an assault on her identity as a mother and on the memory of her child. It's the kind of cruelty that can pierce through even the strongest mental defenses. It raises chilling questions. Do these people have children of their own? Could they truly comprehend the depth of such grief and still weaponize it for online clout? Of all the boundaries one could cross, tampering with the legacy of someone's lost child may be the most unforgiving. This is the type of mental torment that people in the community even warned could become a 13th reason for a grieving parent whose mental health may already be fragile. In other words, it's not just unethical, it's potentially a life-threatening psychological abuse. Monty's mama went on to show receipts proving that these creators didn't stop at targeting her. They even went after her husband. They combed through her personal Facebook profile, digging back through photos and posts to find pictures of him, and then used those stolen images to set up not just one, but multiple fake TikTok accounts in his name, including one brazenly titled Monty's Dad. The cruel irony was that Monty's husband doesn't even have a TikTok account, nor does he spend any time on the app, making this an entirely fabricated presence designed purely to mock and harass. That Mama D would stoop so low to drag grieving parents into such an orchestrated smear campaign speaks volumes about her character, or lack thereof. As if that weren't enough, Mama D took the harassment offline and into the realm of direct public shaming. She made a Facebook post calling out Monty's mom by her real name, deliberately stripping away any anatomy she had and writing. Christine Swanson, He is another crazy old psycho who created a parasocial relationship I had no clue about between us. She's a big old Jenna lover and likes to stalk me for her in mind. So I have this woman blocked out. She was telling people she could see my page in a chat. So you're behind fake accounts supporting your bestie Jenna. The choice of words, openly mocking her mental state, belittling her real grief, and hurling accusations of obsessive stalking was no innocent banter. It wasn't edgy commentary, and it certainly wasn't entertainment. By this point, the behavior had evolved into a deliberate and calculated form of targeted harassment, one driven not by any legitimate grievance, but by festering personal grudges, petty vendettas, and a need to humiliate under the thin disguise of airing opinions for an audience hungry for drama. Every jab, every insult was sharpened for maximum cruelty, carefully crafted to wound, not to spark discussion. And yet, despite the unrelenting nature of these attacks, Monty's mama refuses to crumble under the weight of their malice. She has carried herself with a quiet but unshakable strength, methodically, documenting and exposing every single lie, every fabricated account, and every malicious plot these individuals have unleashed against her and her loved ones. She speaks openly about the reality of being lied about, stalked both online and off, and conspired against in ways that would break many others. But she continues to hold her ground, rooted in her belief that no weapon formed against her will prosper. In her own words, she will not be baited into performing or acting out simply to give her harassers the attention they crave. Unlike those who thrive on constant drama and chaos, she chooses dignity and resilience over spectacle, even while standing in the direct line of fire. She went on to share and dissect entire strings of texts that had been exchanged about her in multiple private chats, laying bare not just idle gossip, but organized, ongoing conversations aimed at undermining her. Within these leaked exchanges, people were suggesting that Dulcie, who was supposed to be Desireen's staunch advocate, might have actually been working hand in hand with Jenna, the very person who had been firmly against Desiree and actively defending Stephanie from the beginning. This twist added another layer of betrayal to the mix. What was originally framed as a group with the noble and urgent purpose of discussing the Jenkins situation and uniting to advocate for the well-being of the Jenkins children gradually and then almost completely mutated into something unrecognizable, a toxic, combative battleground. Over weeks and months, the tone shifted from focused conversations to bitter infighting. The chats became dominated by relentless sniping, open ridicule, and constant finger pointing, with members accusing each other of running elaborate networks of fake accounts, painstakingly compiling and sharing lists of who had blocked whom, and whispering about suspected covert alliances like it was a high-stake espionage thriller. The energy that should have been devoted to protecting children was being siphoned into tracking petty personal scores. In the heat of these petty skirmishes, the original mission didn't just fade into the background, it was actively trampled underfoot. What emerged instead was a chaotic swirl of personal vendettas, ever shifting loyalties, mutual suspicion, and carefully manufactured drama as if conflict itself had become the group's new unspoken goal. The result was a community that looked nothing like what it had set out to be, leaving anyone still clinging to the original purpose to ask, with a mixture of disbelief and disappointment, was this truly the direction this supposedly advocacy-driven discussion was ever meant to take? Morgan's stalking experience.
Well, I can honestly say that I never thought I would be making this video. As a mother, and as somebody that uses this application, right? First off, I think I need to apologize to Miss Thompson. Never thought I would ever say this, but I can admit when I was led in the wrong direction. Some people choose to come on this app and show you their whole lives, right? Or what they pretend to be their life. Those people who put their lives out there are subject to conversation. I don't put my life out there, right? I'm here to comment on things that I see. I support who I think need to be supported. And I owe Miss Thompson an apology because I think that I was led astray. And as a mother on this app, I could not imagine if I lost a child and someone exploited my grief. There are predators on this app, and there are people that have weird parasocial relationships with people that they don't even know. Okay? I don't even know how to start this or even make it make sense because there's so many moving pieces. Okay? But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't put their life on this app, leave them alone. You know, nothing should be taken off this app, in my opinion. And it seems like there's a group of people who are weirdly like coming together and trying to mastermind drama on this app, and then they're taking it off the application. Okay, so for example, Morgan went on today and said that someone showed up at her grandmother's house. I'm not going to use names. I mean, a lot of it goes back to Voldemort, and I'm not going to speak on it because I don't want to give them attention. But I am going to apologize to Miss Thompson because I don't believe the side piece situation was real. I don't even believe that was Drew they were talking to. It's come out that there's a group of people that support Voldemort, and they get together and they create these fake pages with false narratives. And I believe that in learning more about all of the moving pieces in here, that there was one person who spearheaded the side piece page. Just so happens her boyfriend works at Amazon. She's a problem solver for Amazon. Hence how the Amazon, it looked like this person that said that they were having an emotional affair with Drew worked at Amazon. I don't think that that was real. I think that Voldemort, I think that a young girl that's being manipulated, and I think there's another woman, we'll just call her Mama, who are running these narratives just to create drama because I guess they're bored. Okay, but for the record, I apologize, Miss Thompson. I don't think the side piece thing was real. I think it was orchestrated for whatever reason. People have alleged that Dolce was involved. That's why she went online and said, oh, I verified the phone number, and it is in fact true. Now, I'd like to think that Dolce was doing that because she thought it would help Desiree on her case. And I'm going to still believe that until I know otherwise. But it's not right to lie. It's not right to even make Miss Thompson doubt Drew when there's a million other reasons she should doubt Drew. That's not okay. Then on to the next thing. Could you imagine losing a child? I couldn't. And that's what happened to a woman on this app. And this woman has been very vocal in her support for Desiree and the support that Deshaun reunites his mother. Well, this group of people decided they were going to target her. And they made a fake page. And it said, I'm so sorry I killed my son in a drunk driving accident. They stole pictures off her Facebook to make it look like it was her actual page. When in fact the child, well, he was a man, was killed in a car accident that didn't have anything to do with the mother. So imagine coming on this app after losing a child and having all these messages by people saying, did you see this page? They're saying that you killed your son drunk driving. When that
Morgan, a creator known for consistently and unapologetically calling out the Jenkins for their conduct, has in turn faced relentless harassment from the same circle of creators. She eventually came forward to reveal one of the most disturbing episodes, that she had been stalked in real life. In her chilling account, she explained that her own children can no longer safely visit their grandmother's house because of a deliberate stalking incident allegedly orchestrated by Mama D. According to Morgan, Mama D deliberately befriended a woman named Hannah, a resident in Illinois, nowhere near Mama D's own location, but living in the very area where Morgan's grandmother resides. Hannah was said to be a friend of Morgan's sister, though Morgan herself had never met her. Through a calculated manipulation, Mama D persuaded both Hannah and Hannah's mother to physically go to Morgan's grandmother's home under the pretext of checking whether Morgan's children were present. Morgan recounted that her sister personally witnessed Hannah not only knock at the door, but also press her ear against it, attempting to eavesdrop on whatever was happening inside. Her sister, who at the time was caring for a friend's infant, refused to open the door. Thankfully, and perhaps fortuitously, Morgan's children were not there at the date, leaving the unsettling question of what these uninvited visitors might have intended unanswered.
My kids can't go to my grandma's house because of a real-life stalker. Let's talk about it. So let me make something clear. Donna, aka Mama D, on here, creator, she sent Hannah, who she befriended, that's from Illinois, not from wherever she's from, befriended her and convinced her and her mom to show up at my grandma's house at night while me and my kids were not even there, but to see if my kids were there. Hannah did go up to the door. My sister said that she heard her come up to the door. She knocked, and then she was putting her ear up to the door. Now, if I'm such a liar, why did Hannah make a video admitting that her mom did go to my grandma's house? She just lied and said that she wasn't with her, and she was. On my backup account, I have pictures of Hannah holding an alcohol bottle literally over her child's head. She has been called out multiple times for not even strapping her child in the car correctly. I have also never fucking stalked somebody in real life and showed up at their house and knocked on their fucking door. So what are y'all talking about saying that I deserve it and my kids deserve to be stalked? Y'all are fucking weird.
This wasn't merely awkward or noisy behavior. It crossed into the realm of deeply creepy, targeted, and potentially dangerous conduct. The kind that goes beyond impulsive lapses in judgment and instead feels calculated and invasive. Morgan emphasized with absolute clarity that she never stalked anyone, never crossed into people's private lives, and that her online criticism is strictly focused on mothers who willingly expose themselves in questionable ways on public social media. The editorial choice, she argued, does not and never will justify being hunted down in her private life like prey, nor does it excuse making her elderly grandmother, who has no connection to the online disputes, feel unsafe, violated, and on edge within the walls of her own home.
My kids can no longer go to my grandma's house, so let's talk about it. So a creator on here befriended somebody that used to be friends with my sister. I have never met this girl. I have never seen this girl in person. I have only ever spoke to her over the phone. My sister has obviously been friends with her. I did not know her. Now, this creator had this girl go to my grandma's house with her mom, go up to my grandma's door and knock, and then waited for somebody to open the door, and my sister did not open the door. My sister was home. She had a newborn baby with her because she was babysitting for her friend. My kids were not there. But if my kids were there, what were your intentions? So now I can't send my kids to my grandma's house or go to my grandma's house because I have literal real life stalkers. And I'm just saying this right now. If y'all see me on the jail page, you see my mugshot, just know I saved my record for my children. That's all I'm saying.
The entire ordeal doesn't just suggest a moral lapse. It underscores a deliberate and disturbing escalation, raising the chilling question: if someone disagrees with Morgan's commentary, why on earth drag completely innocent family members into the crosshairs of their feud? This is the moment where the situation definitely stops being internet drama and veers into something far more sinister and menacing. It's an alarming illustration of how dangerously blurred the line has become between the virtual hostility of online conflicts and tangible, real-world harm. When social media grudges metastasize into real-life confrontations at someone's literal doorstep, confrontations that involve the safety of both children and vulnerable elders, it has gone far beyond anything that could be brushed off as petty squabbling or online theatrics. It becomes a jarring, sobering, and frankly frightening reality check on just how extreme, reckless, and morally bankrupt this behavior has become, leaving no doubt that the stakes have shifted from digital disagreements to genuine threats. One creator who had been consistently vocal in criticizing the Jenkins for an extended period took the unexpected step of issuing an apology to Stephanie, not for her long-standing claim that Stephanie was a bad mom, a view she had made clear she still holds, but for getting swept up by the momentum of believing and amplifying the narratives pushed by a network of fake accounts. These accounts, she admitted, had a habit of stirring up drama about the Jenkins and launching attacks on anyone else who dared to speak about them. She emphasized her disapproval of these accounts crossing the line by taking conflicts off the app, directly interfering with people's real lives, and inflicting unnecessary mental and emotional strain on families. She described feeling manipulated and misled after discovering how these fake pages coordinated with another to deliberately engineer chaos. That revelation led her to question even the most notorious pieces of Jenkins-related gossip, such as the infamous Jew side piece drama. She openly stated she no longer believed it was real at all, suspecting it might have been a fabricated saga born entirely from the scheming of these accounts. According to her, one particularly ruthless individual within this circle may have masterminded the creation of the so-called side piece account, exploiting a young woman to front the page and feed the public an elaborate story that she had spoken to Drew, that he had cheated on Stephanie with her, all of which she suspects now could have been a staged setup from the start to finish. If that's true, it's not just malicious. It's deeply sad because it may have worsened already existing tensions in the cramped Jenkins Motel living situation. At its worst, she fears, it could have harmed the children by forcing them to witness their parents embroiled in ugly disputes or overhear heated conversations about the alleged betrayal within the same single room space they all shared. She went on to speculate that Dulcie, known as an advocate for Desiree, may have played a role in propping up the side piece narrative. Dulcie had been the one to publicly vouch for the authenticity of the phone number linked to the side piece, asserting it belonged to Drew. That claim, whether ultimately true or false, proved pivotal in helping Desiree secure a win in court. But as the creator underscored, a lie remains a lie, and if the phone number was part of an elaborate ruse, the entire scheme would be fundamentally wrong. Given that Dulcie later had a falling out with Desiree, the creator suggested it's possible that the alliance behind the plot fractured, and whatever grand plan may have existed didn't unfold as intended. What this generally shows is how far everyone has drifted from the original mission and intent. The supposed claim of calling out the Jenkins was, at least on paper, to shine a light on their behavior for the sake of improvement or accountability, not to plunge them further into scandal. The infamous side piece storyline, in particular, ended up being one of the most explosive and damaging episodes for Stephanie and Drew. Stephanie was already burdened with long-standing insecurity issues about her relationship. She did not need another sensationalized reason to doubt her partner. She already had ample cause to leave Drew if she chose to, yet she stayed. This rumor, whether genuine or fabricated, added nothing constructive and instead became a toxic spectacle that bled into their home life, affecting their children most of all. These kids were placed in the heartbreaking position of watching their parents engage in tense, awkward interactions and subtle, or not so subtle, hostility over scandal that may have been entirely manufactured. If orchestrated, the cruel irony is that it might have been devised by the very same people loudly proclaiming that they were acting in the children's best interest. From that perspective, the creator's decision to apologize to Stephanie carries weight, especially given she previously mocked Stephanie as delusional for trusting Drew in the side piece controversy. If Stephanie was correct in standing by him, then the ridicule was doubly unjust. But this acknowledgement does not wipe away the creator's continued criticism of Stephanie's parenting and lifestyle. Stephanie is still accused of mistreating both animals and children, of exploiting the aesthetics of poverty and homelessness for personal gain, and for perpetuating an environment that traumatizes her kids. Even so, fabricating or amplifying a false narrative of infidelity is still unfair and harmful. All this considered, the Jenkins drama has spiraled far beyond any recognizable form of genuine advocacy or constructive intervention. What may have begun as a loosely organized effort to hold Stephanie accountable and steer her toward a healthier path for her children's well-being has now mutated into something much darker, more chaotic, and self-serving. If the original intention was truly to encourage positive change, then the current reality, in which certain participants deliberately inject staged controversies, magnifying rumors and manufacture sensationalized disputes, should be a blaring alarm that the mission has been corrupted. The line between concern and obsession has blurred to the point of disappearing. This evolution of the campaign forces some uncomfortable but necessary questions into the spotlight. Why, after all this time, the dispute, mounting evidence of toxicity, are these individuals still clinging to the Jenkins narrative with such intensity? How did a cause framed around safeguarding the welfare of the children morph into a personal crusade for online clout, retaliation, or entertainment? Why have the personal egos, vendettas, and grudges of outsiders been allowed to overshadow the very children they claim to protect? The sad truth is that, at this stage, the tactics being deployed, constant public shaming, coordinated online attacks, weaponizing hashtags as rallying banners for drama-driven factions, no longer serve the children's best interests in any way. Instead, they actively risk compounding the children's trauma, keeping them trapped in an endless cycle of public spectacle that is fueled less by genuine care and more by the appetite for conflict, attention, and the thrill of tearing someone down in the digital arena. The Jenkins drama has drifted so drastically from anything resembling its original purpose that it now resembles a chaotic, never-ending online circus, one driven less by facts and genuine concern than a potent mix of misinformation, personal vendettas, and the insatiable hunger for public spectacle. The children, who should have been shielded from this mess, are instead caught in the crossfire, their privacy dismantled, their daily lives dissected in real time, their identities reduced to hashtags and viral talking points, and their pain repackaged as entertainment content for strangers. This isn't just petty online scribbling anymore. It's the weaponization of their lived reality for clicks, likes, and clout. And it raises serious ethical questions about how far people will go in the name of exposing someone. When will people finally pause long enough to ask themselves whether they have crossed an irreversible line? When will the key players in this drama acknowledge the harm they are actively inflicting, not in some abstract sense, but in ways that may leave lasting scars on young minds? Haven't the boundaries already been shattered beyond repair? Is it not well past the point of stopping? How did a mission that was supposedly about accountability morph into something so toxic, so self-serving, and so detached from its stated purpose? Where exactly did the diversion take, and why did no one steer it back? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop them in the comments. Do you agree that this has gone too far? Like and subscribe to stay informed on how this continues to unfold, because sadly, it shows no signs of slowing down.